There's something surreal about the night before your wedding. Everyone tells you to soak it in. That strange hush before the celebration, when the tent poles are up, the wine is chilling, and the playlist's been rehearsed to death. You're told it's about nerves, excitement, that boyish kind of awe that something so permanent is just hours away. For me, it was quiet. Too quiet. I remember sitting on the edge of the hotel bed, tie draped over my shoulder, watching the city lights flicker through our suite window. My groomsmen had gone out to grab burgers and drinks, offering that last-minute bro therapy I wasn't sure I needed. I'd opted to stay behind, saying I wanted to write a letter to Grace. A tradition, something heartfelt for her to read before walking down the aisle. But if I'm being honest, I stayed behind because something in my gut told me not to go. That week had been off. Grace was all smiles and sparkle when we were with people. The kind of laughter that was just a hair too sharp. Her hand in mine, but never squeezing back. We'd been engaged for 13 months, and through every seating chart meltdown, every florist switch up, she was calm, elegant, kind. But this week, she was distracted, edgy, like her mind was pacing a different hallway entirely. And maybe I brushed it off too easily. Maybe I wanted to believe it was just wedding jitters. Around 11:42 p.m., her phone buzzed on the marble nightstand. I wouldn't have looked. God, I swear I wouldn't have. I'm not that guy. But she was in the shower. Her phone lit up twice. 3 times. Then 5. One name. Same name. Over and over again. Caleb. The screen didn't say much. Just, you up? Then, a minute later. You still think about it? I stared at it longer than I should have. Each buzz felt louder than the last. I didn't open it. I didn't have to. The timestamp on their last message was from just 3 days ago. And another thread, older, showed a missed call at 2:08 a.m., 2 weeks back. I stood there in that hotel suite, staring at her phone like it had betrayed me, not her. I told myself to breathe, that it could be innocent, that Caleb was just a ghost from her past she never quite buried. But something in my chest said otherwise. Something quiet, low, and cold. When she stepped out of the shower, towel wrapped around her, cheeks flushed from the heat, she smiled at me the way she always did, like nothing was wrong. Like she couldn't see the storm beginning behind my eyes. You okay? She asked, tossing her hair with that effortless grace that made me fall for her in the first place. Yeah, I said. Just thinking. About what? I shrugged. Tomorrow. She sat beside me, damp and warm, smelling like lavender and clean skin, and she kissed my shoulder. It's gonna be perfect. I nodded, but I didn't say anything. Not about the texts. Not about Caleb. I just let the silence stretch. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay beside her in the dark, watching the curve of her back, the way her breath steadied into sleep. I wanted so badly to believe in her. In us. In the vows we were about to take. But the truth had already made its way into the room, and it wouldn't let me rest. So I got up. I sat at the desk and stared at the page meant for my wedding letter. The one she'd read before walking toward me in white. And slowly, methodically, I began to write something else. Not angry. Not bitter, just honest. I wrote about the way I had loved her. How deeply, how quietly. How I believed we had built something sacred. I wrote about the night I first saw her, barefoot in a bookstore, arguing with the clerk over a missing poetry collection. I wrote about our first road trip, the time the car broke down in the desert, and we danced under a full moon with dust in our hair and laughter in our lungs. I wrote everything I remembered loving about her. And then I wrote what I saw tonight. The name. The messages, the timing, the way my heart tried to lie to itself because it didn't want to believe she'd betray me now. Not here, not on the edge of forever. And at the end of the letter, I didn't accuse her. I didn't call her names or demand explanations. I just wrote, if your heart is still divided, even a little, I won't hold it against you. But I also won't chain myself to a question mark. And then, just one more line. So this is my wedding gift to you, Freedom. I folded the letter, slid it into the envelope we'd had monogrammed for the big day, and placed it on her bouquet, which was chilling in the minibar next to the champagne. Then I packed my things, quietly, without a sound. I left my tux hanging in the closet. I left the ring on the dresser. And I walked out of that suite with nothing but a carry-on and a pocket full of heartbreak. The sun was already creeping through the windows of my rental car when I finally pulled into the gravel driveway of my cousin James' cabin, 3 hours north of the city. He wasn't home, on a hiking trip in Utah, But he'd left the place open like he promised, fridge stocked, key under the flower pot like we used to do as kids. I turned off my phone before I even stepped inside. That might sound dramatic, but I knew what was coming. Calls, messages, panic, confusion, maybe even anger. Weddings don't vanish overnight. Grooms don't just disappear. But I also knew this. The moment I left that room, I wasn't her groom anymore. The silence inside the cabin was strange at first. It wasn't peaceful, not yet. It was thick, like I was waiting for the noise to catch up with me. I sat on the old plaid couch, still in my jeans and wedding weekend button-up, and stared at the worn fireplace stones. That was the first moment I let myself feel it. Not the betrayal, but the loss. Not just of Grace, but of everything I thought I knew about what we had. I thought about the first time she told me she loved me. We were in line for greasy tacos at a food truck, half drunk, half starving, and she blurted it out between bites. She laughed afterward, said, "I don't know why I said that. I just felt it." I believed her. Every word. And I believed her again when she said yes to my proposal under the fall leaves, hands trembling, tears in her eyes. Now, I didn't know what to believe. Sometime around noon, I turned the phone back on, just for a second. Dozens of messages flooded in. The first was from her maid of honor, Allison. "Where are you? Everyone's freaking out. Grace is in tears." Then my mom. "Are you okay? Please call me." Then Grace, just one message. "I don't understand. Please tell me what's happening." I didn't reply. Not then. What would I say? That I saw messages from a man she once said meant nothing? That I couldn't tell if she was confused or just caught? That maybe the person she was texting at midnight mattered more than the one waiting to marry her in the morning? No, that kind of truth doesn't fit in a text. It barely fits in a letter. The next day, I got a call from my best friend, Kyle. I picked up. "You all right?" he asked, no judgment in his voice. "Not really," I said. He exhaled. "Do you want me to come up there?" I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. "No, I just needed space." He was quiet a beat. "She told everyone you got cold feet. Said you panicked." I almost laughed. Not out of humor, more like disbelief. "Yeah, that sounds easier than the truth. You want people to know?" I paused. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." Because as much as part of me wanted to scream the truth, to post the screenshots, to tell everyone exactly what happened, the bigger part of me didn't want to live in that bitterness. I didn't want to reduce our story to a gotcha moment. We'd had years. Some of them were beautiful, and I wasn't going to spend the next chapter trying to rewrite what was already over. By the end of the week, the wedding was officially canceled. Vendors refunded what they could. Guests were told there had been a personal emergency. Most people didn't ask for details. But Grace did. Late one night, I got another message. Just 3 words. "Please talk to me." I typed and erased half a dozen replies. None of them felt right. None of them could undo the fracture between us. Then, I finally wrote back. I saw the messages. It took her 30 minutes to respond. "I'm sorry. It didn't mean anything. I was just scared." I sat with that for a long time. Not angry, just hollow. "Then why not talk to me?" I typed. Her reply was immediate. "Because I knew what I was risking, and I didn't want to lose you." That was the part that stung. Not the betrayal itself, but that even after it, she wanted to keep me in the dark. That she was willing to walk down that aisle with a secret in her pocket and a lie on her lips, just to preserve the image of us. And maybe that was the clearest sign of all. We weren't on the same page anymore. Maybe we never truly were. I didn't reply after that. I powered off the phone again and stared into the woods until morning. It took me 2 months to come back to the city. Not because I was hiding, not out of spite, but because healing, real healing, the kind that doesn't look like revenge or running, takes time. I didn't want to come back as the guy who disappeared before his wedding. I wanted to return as someone who had faced something hard, survived it, and kept his soul intact. The thing about walking away is that it doesn't feel heroic when you're doing it. It feels messy, lonely, like you're letting go of something you spent years building, brick by brick. But every day that passed after I left that hotel suite, I began to realize I hadn't just walked away from her. I'd walked back to myself. When I finally returned, the apartment was just as I left it. Half-packed wedding gifts. A his and hers towel set still in its wrappings. A framed engagement photo of us on the hallway table, her hand on my chest, both of us grinning like we'd already made it. I left it all there for a few days. Maybe I wasn't ready to face it yet. Grace had moved her things out sometime in early August. A mutual friend said she did it quietly. No drama. No long note. Just gone. And honestly, I was grateful. We didn't need a second ending. The first one was loud enough, even in its silence. But a week later, I got a letter. Handwritten. Cream-colored stationery. Her name embossed at the top. I didn't open it for hours. Just sat with it on the kitchen counter, drinking bad coffee and watching the sky turn from blue to gray. When I finally read it, her handwriting was careful, like she knew every word mattered now. She didn't make excuses. She didn't try to spin the story. She just said she was sorry, that she'd been scared, that she had loved me, still did, in some strange, fractured way, but that part of her had always left the back door unlocked, just in case. She admitted that texting Caleb wasn't an accident. It was something she had done because a part of her still needed to know she had options. And that was the line that hit the hardest. Because love, the kind worth building a life on, doesn't look for exits. It stays, even when it's scared, especially when it's scared. She ended the letter by saying she understood why I left, that she would have left too. And then she wrote something I'll never forget. You gave me the kindest ending I didn't deserve. You didn't scream. You didn't shame me. You gave me the gift I was too cowardly to ask for, freedom. I sat with that for a long time. Read it twice, then 3 times. And then, for the first time since that night, I cried. Not out of heartbreak, but out of release. I don't know where she is now. I heard through someone she moved to Portland, took a job with a nonprofit. Maybe she's trying to start over. Maybe she's found her peace. I hope so. As for me, I'm different now. There's no dramatic twist to this ending. No surprise inheritance. No secret empire built in silence. Just a man who almost said, I do, to someone who didn't. And maybe that's the twist. That I didn't lose anything that day. I gained the truth. And with it, the chance to rebuild my life on something real. Some nights I still think about her. About what could have been. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude. Because loving someone isn't the same as belonging with them. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is step away from the life you thought you wanted and give someone else the gift they were too afraid to ask for. Not a ring, not a vow, just the door. Open, waiting. Freedom.